Hello guys and girls, Screenzilla here, I hope you're all well. Now, I'm just going to do a little video today, a bit of a tester video, so I would say. It's a demonstration video, let's say that. Now, this is a video on skip bombing. Now, if you've never heard of skip bombing, it's the act of skipping a bomb. Now, skip bombing was developed independently by the Americans, the British and the Australians in around the mid-1930s, around 1935-36, although the Americans were the first to really use it. It was generally used in the Pacific Campaign, and, well, it was a very useful technique. There was two sort of variants of skip bombing, I would say. There was the skip bombing, of course. There was also the mast technique, or mast height bombing. Both of which are very similar, although mast height technique was generally dropping the bomb on the target, not before the target. Now, the British were the first to really use this this sort of technique with the mast height technique of bombing in the British Channel, I believe. They were using bow fighters anyway, and I can remember that much. But they were dropping on the ship, and they proved that low-level, fast-attacking bomb drops were possible. This was one of the main reasons that skipping was not really used, because people were like, well, flying at that altitude, you're just going to die, so what's the point? However, it proved to be much safer than flying a normal bombing mission, also much more reliable at hitting the target. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come into this battleship at a very low altitude. We're also going to get some speed up. Now you'll need around about 150 miles per hour plus. Ideally, you want to get up to around 200 miles per hour. You want to be above 200 miles per hour, and you want to be at around 100 feet to do this. However, lower is better sometimes. You're going to get in nice and close, get in nice and fast, and then you're going to pull up and drop the bombs just on the way up. So, those last ones are a bit far, actually. Press the wrong button there. The first ones are what I wanted to look at. I kept the button down to look at that ones. Okay, let's go in for another one there. So, skipping was used by a variety of aircraft. Generally, smaller twin-engine bombers were preferable for this. However, B-17s were also used. Yeah, I'm keen for most things, but flying a B-17 at 100 feet above sea level into flak and anti-aircraft fire above 200 miles per hour, not my idea of fun, really. I might skip that one. But it was used by a variety of planes. It was also adopted by the Russians, who called it the Tomichnikovs, I think it was. Basically translates into ship mast tops. So similar theory, really. As I said, a lot of different planes were used with this technique, and it was much more effective than dive bombing, because you were basically a lot lower, and you were a lot faster. Dive bombing is good because if you're above the enemy, then it can be hard for them to hit you with their anti-aircraft guns because you're effectively in their blind spot. However, when you're below a certain level as well, when you're around about 40 feet above sea level, you can also be below the anti-aircraft gun fire level. Because, well, people don't really expect it. So we're going to drop. And there we go. Now you see there, the bomb just flies straight into the side of the ship, and that's what you want. The reason this technique was used is simply for that effect. The bombs fly into the side of an enemy ship. What would happen is the bombs would hit the side of the ship, usually because they smacked on the water a couple of times, they were primed, so they would go off on impact of the ship. You need a delay for this to work properly. I generally use about a 1 second delay. But realistically they used about a 5 second delay for this technique. So let's come in again. Now it works with the majority of bombs. You need a slightly spherical bomb for it to work properly though. So the big barrel bombs on the Wellington and stuff like that don't work very well. But things like the 2,000 pounder, stuff like that, will absolutely work in this technique. So let's go for another drop here. We'll just drop one. Well, we've got two then. And as you see, they just bounce along, hit the side of the ship, stop, and then sink, and then go off at the side of it. Now, I'll probably hear you saying, well, we've got torpedoes, why use this technique? Realistically, torpedoes were very expensive. They also took around about 5 to 7 minutes to reach their target from an airdrop. Planes didn't generally drop them at point blank ranges, they would drop them about 500 to 600 feet away at sort of a minimum. Meters, not feet. Sorry. You know, they would keep a very good distance. It was safer for the plane, but it gave the enemy time to manoeuvre. Whereas bombing with this technique doesn't give an enemy a chance to manoeuvre. It also means you're very hard to hit. Like I said, because you're so low and fast, you become a very hard target to acquire. Now with a torpedo bomber, you have to be flying at a certain speed, especially for some of the older torpedoes, you have to be flying at around about 100 miles per hour to drop them safely, which meant you were going very slow, very close to the ship and an easy target. The other part of this, bombs are cheaper. You know, a 250 kilogram bomb, 250 pound bomb is a lot cheaper than a torpedo. So financially it made sense in that regard as well. A bit short there, but a good little view. So it was cheaper, planes tended to survive it, but also there was a thing of accuracy. And this is why it's good to be used in War Thunder. Now skipping is very tricky to get used to, but when you do get used to it, it's very, very effective. One of the big problems, however, is the fact that ships are still suffering some modelling issues. They're not yet fully modelled, so to say. So when you fly into them sometimes, the ships will let the bomb safely pass through them, which is always fun. You know, that is a big problem, but hopefully with the new updates, with naval combat coming in, this won't happen as much. Now of course what happens when a bomb hits the side of the ship, if it doesn't go off, it will hit the side of the ship and then sink, and then go off underneath it, causing a very big blast. Now again, we're just going to come in nice and fast here, nice and low, and we're going to drop relatively close to this battleship. So we want to pull up now. And we get some good hits there. We've got a bomb chasing us there. So it's much more accurate and it's much more effective. So as I'm saying, in War Thunder this gives us a better chance to hit our target. Now, at the moment ships are basically health point based, so it's kind of a bit ineffective using this technique on them. Unless you're actively going for ships, it's not really worth it. But when the naval combat comes out, this is going to be a very useful technique. However, you are at great risk doing it because you're so low and so close to the enemy and dropping. So that may come into effect as well. But if they're fighting off an enemy on their right hand side and you're sneaking up, you may get a good chance. The other thing for it is it's just bloody cool. It's fun, it gives you a bit of a challenge. It gives you something different. So as we see there, one of our bombs just passed pretty much straight through and ended up inside the ship, but that's good news. That would, of course, cause fair amounts of damage in reality, but it just makes it a lot easier for hitting targets. So if you are attacking destroyers, say, you can get some sort of good hits on them. If you're attacking battleships, it's kind of a bit pointless because, well, you need a fair amount of bombs to actually do any damage to those guys. Let's just drop on this destroyer. There we go. That would be a great hit. Using a 250-pound bomb, of course, we do bugger all damage to it. As I said, they seem to be sort of hit point based rather than anything else. However, in a modular damage system, that would cause a huge amount of damage, especially to a destroyer. It would likely take out most of the engine. It could also cause explosion of their ammunition, but it would also cause rather large flooding because there would be a massive hole in the side of the ship. So we'll go in for one last run and I'll just talk you through the technique one more time. What I'd say is have a practice of this. Take out a fast plane that has bombs. Any plane will do. You just want something that's going to be relatively fast. As I say, you want to be around about 200 miles per hour for this. About 300 or something kilometers per hour. It's just getting used to pulling up at the right time and dropping at the right moment. If you drop too flat, you will get some bouncing, but it won't be as effective. If you pull up just that little bit, you just get a better bounce on the bomb. So there we go, again a nice hit on that smokestack. So you can see here with this destroyer, it's got some damage to it for sure. We'll come in again and try and sink him. Now, heavier bombs are less bouncy. I know, it's surprising, isn't it? Something heavier is not quite as bouncy as light ones. So if you're using a heavier bomb, be prepared for this. Practice with different bombs as well, because they all have little different effects. So if we go nice and low again, we will drop. Now, some nice bounces. Both of them land directly on the ship, and down she goes. Well, I say that, but of course, being War Thunder. Anyway, direct hits, that's the main thing. We got some direct hits, we're all good. So yeah, I hope you found this useful, and give it a try. Let me know how you go, because I'd love to see your efforts, and if I can be helpful, that's the main thing. I'd love to know if I actually make it easier for you guys, and if you manage to get some kills with it, let me know in the comments below. If you found this something that interests you, and you want to have more videos on techniques and little things like that, let me know as well. I'm more than happy to do a few more. Alright guys, I will catch you next time, and this is Screamzilla out. See you in a bit.